Now, today, while we were supposed to talk about subsidy in general in agriculture sector, we will continue to talk about it. However, there will be some discussions about fertilizer. Now, fertilizer subsidy, of course, is a very contentious subject. You have huge subsidy outflow. You have, of course, outflow and then deteriorating soil health. You have problems of other problems which are associated with fertilizer. But then subsidies in general, sometimes they do good, sometimes they distort the market. Uh, People say that the jute market is, really deformed because of Bangladesh trying to encourage jute in Bangladesh by giving subsidy, and that makes life of Indian people difficult. Now we have three experts today. They both have expertise in different areas. On my left side, the gentleman has huge experience on the agronomic practices, while the other two, Mr. Marathe, that as to can we have some mechanism through which this 2 lakh crore rupees of subsidy, which may become now 3 lakh crore because of urea price going from $300 to $900. Now, if you don't protect the farmer and say, I will pass on all that, then also there would be a chaos. So there are, as we heard Dr. Prasad, and I'll come back to him again, there are lots of issues on fertilizer itself. But Mr. Patil, with your background of, you have been a very well-known economist. Now, I would like to ask you while you can talk on every subject, I would request you to continue talking on two ideas. One is, as we said, unfair trade practices by other countries, and number two on fertilizer subsidy. And I would request you that while you talk about this, also keep in mind the NPCI voucher which came, or RBI electronic currency which came. Do you think using these two electronic instruments, do you think something would happen? I mean, while you need to rationalize policies, but presuming that those policies would follow what you will say, can these tools help us? The IT tools by NPCI voucher, which we all know, and the digital currency of RBI, and of course unfair practices, which about 5 minutes.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, organizer. Since morning, or since yesterday, I'm hearing that a lot of issues we're discussing here about the national security. But let me tell you, agriculture is something which is required to think more in terms of national security. Just one war between Ukraine and the Russia, the cost of the urea has gone almost double. So the subsidized amount for the fertilizer also goes double. So if we save that much of money, it can be used for our defense sector. So I'm thankful to organizers, they have put a special session on this agriculture. Now coming back to fertilizer, coming back to the agriculture sector, so almost we are consuming 2 lakhs crore rupees last financial year, particularly on the fertilizer. Out of 6 lakhs crore subsidy on farm sector, 2 lakhs gone only for the fertilizer. And still we are 90% dependent for the fertilizer consumption for the rest of the world. And this is going on from 1977. 1977 of the fertilizer subsidy bill was just for 4,500 crore. Now it has reached 200 crore, 2 lakh crore. And it's go on. So we have to think how this fertilizer subsidy, how this entire mechanism is developing, how this entire mechanism is affecting our entire industry, entire farm sector. For example, still farmers are not getting a required amount of subsidy with the required amount of prices. That's why the We are seeing that can we utilize the digital payment by which the farmers will get this subsidized rate. Farmers will get the fertilizer affordability at the door only. So that's why we are trying to utilize the different schemes, digital payments, by which the more amount of transparency will be in the system, built into the system. Second, if you see the impact of the fertilizer, for example, you take the example of the rice. India is the #1 exporter of rice in the entire world. But to produce a 1 kg of rice, we require 5,000 liters of water. So we are not exporting a rice. We are exporting a valuable resource of water. And the paddy is required highest amount of fertilizer. So are we calculating something about that? Ki whatever fertilizer we are giving to the farmers, whether it has been utilized in a proper way or not. For example, yesterday I was at my farm with my parents. We were giving the fertilizer, especially urea, to our sugarcane cultivations, for the sugarcane. But there was no any calculations. We are just putting and putting and putting. So more number of urea, out of that 30% will go into the atmosphere only. Only remains 70%. Out of 70%, urea will, nitrogen will kill our microorganism. Land fertility will go on. For example, in order to land productivity, you need a 2.5% pH level. If you go to the Punjab, it has just 0.5%. So this trend is going on everywhere. So the fertilizer subsidy, it is not just about the money. It is not just about the government something to do. It is all about concern with the whole environment. So we have to see the fertilizer, we have to see the entire sector, how to be rationalized. Can that farmer require that much of amount of fertilizer? Whether the farmer is just only getting the fertilizer in terms of urea, or he is getting whatever is required in terms of other, for example, whether it is giving the phosphorus, whether it is the potassium. So that balance. So this all thing if you see, then still the India has to do a lot in terms of the fertilizer sector. And the digital payment, e-voucher, these all instruments definitely will help to see whether the transparency is there in the entire fertilizer sector. For example, the last year the government is very concerned about the profit margin by the fertilizer sector, fertilizer companies. There was no record or very less record. So these kind of entire things can be curbed by utilizing these e-vouchers and digital payments. So once again, I'm putting this Fergie. This is not something just only concerned about the small farmers. This is absolutely matter of national security. So we have to see our agriculture into the right directions. And if we want to see the agriculture into the right direction, the important thing is the subsidy for the fertilizer. Because after the food subsidy, the fertilizer comes next seconds. If you just save some amount of that subsidy out of 50,000 or something about that we can utilize for our other sector, or maybe we can utilize for our manufacturing, because 90% we are heavily dependent on the raw material for the fertilizer sector from the rest of the world. So we also have to see, can we some amount of manufacturing can be done in India? For example, if you go to the Andhra Pradesh is their own natural farming policy. Andhra Pradesh is the state in the country which is very less dependent on the chemical fertilizer. Why? It is because through natural farming policy, they are trying to develop the biofertilizer at the farm gate only. So by something kind of that, we can fill the gap in this entire fertilizer supply chains. Thank you, sir.
You spoke really important point that can we really, on one side, the fertilizer efficiency is so low. It is low because you are virtually getting unlimited fertilizer. So the moment we tell you, I will not give you more than X number of bags per acre, you will then understand. I mean, in every area you take a ration card. For each person you get 3 kgs. If I tell you, you take as many kgs. I mean, you have a ration card. Even if you don't have ration card, you take as much as you require. So there has to be some rationalization. And as he is saying, the moment I give you as much fertilizer, then you don't care how much is evaporating into the air, what is happening to the efficiency. And this is also very exciting that Andhra and many other states are now talking about organic cropping. None of us, we all want to eat mantra, 24 mantra food, right? Organic tattva. Then why if we are all worried about eating fertilizer and pesticide. So therefore rationalization perhaps would. Now I come back to Mr. Marathe, and I would not confine you to just fertilizer. I know that your expertise lies in subsidy in general. Of course, time would be a limitation, 5 minutes. But you kindly tell us what you feel about subsidy in agriculture, not confining about fertilizer, and what are its impacts. When you talk about impact, or of course you will have to keep in mind that half the farmers don't own land, and their records are also not there with us. So if you really ask me in Telangana or Karnataka, to which I belong, are the land-owning farmers really cultivating the land? We have no data. It is only the Niti Aayog said, why don't you remove these archaic laws of tenancy reforms, etc., and let the land leasing be legalized or at least recorded so that we know and we can protect those landless farmers. Of course, when it will happen, it has happened in Telangana and Andhra. When it will happen in other states, we really don't know. So I'll request you to tell us your views on agriculture subsidy, its impacts and impacts on small and marginal farmers and landless farmers.
It's working. Thank you. I think for this, as subsidy, when we look towards subsidy, we need to have a total holistic view and not just about it will impact the agriculture sector. That's my first point, I would say. The subsidy, introduction of subsidy is almost 100 years old. It started in a big way at the time of Great Depression in 1930s in the United States, and then it has continued all these years, and every 5 years in America they bring out a bill which says agriculture conservation bill, price protection bill, in different forms they call it, but that bill comes every 5 years and the subsidy has continued. And it's a huge amount that is happening. Why subsidy is introduced basically is there are 5 or 6 reasons why it has got continued. One major reason has been the market's ups and downs and its failures, then driven by need of production of agricultural produce by each country, then to assure minimum assured income to the farmers, to reduce impact of increasing input cost on the farmers, to reduce negative impact on health and nutrition policies of each government, to promote social policies and stop migration. These have been some of the major reasons why the subsidy has been introduced and is being given mainly to the agricultural sector. Mainly the subsidy has gone to some 8 or 10 products. In India it's about 14 or 15 products. I am not exactly sure of the number, but major products always have been produce have been rice, wheat, corn, oilseeds, sugar, cotton, soya bean, tomatoes, potatoes and onions. Now these are some of the major areas which have taken the subsidiaries. Now subsidiary, when we look at it holistically, we'll have to select which products it should be given to. That's what is necessary. A survey in America showed that only 12% of their population was really following the dietary guidelines that were given to them. And their excess utilization of sugar and salts, I would say excess results in saturated fats, sodium, and this has affected their overall health conditions in the country also. We are facing similar problems to a lesser extent even in India. So the approach towards subsidy has to be keeping in with the national goals. That's what is really. Fertilizer is a very important component, and that's why it attracts major attention. Subsidies can be in indirect form also. It can be in the form of reduced or zero interest rates, as is happening in some of our states, insurance, marketing support, supply of equipments which are taxed very less at the production level, and then giving subsidy for purchase of equipments. There are a whole lot of areas which are indirect way of supporting. Now in India, we do not have much of corn production as it is there in the US, and the maximum subsidy incidentally in US goes to corn. Reason being, corn is being used to make for manufacture of ethanol and blending with petroleum products. Now in India there are three major items which take away our foreign exchange reserves. One is the petroleum products, second is the electronic goods, and the third has been the gold. Now if petroleum products import has to be reduced, I think we should have some special scheme for the agricultural sector which can do that. And if sugar is harming the health conditions of our people, I think we should have a different approach to that. With food security that we have ensured, and I believe we will continue to ensure in the coming years, it is said, exact numbers I would not be able to say, but the stock of food grains that we are required to keep as security is almost 2.5 times more. At times wheat is more, at times paddy is more. It changes year to year. So looking to these aspects, I think we should draw up our MSP support policy and subsidies for various crops that are essential. Thank you.
Of course, you have spoken in a most inclusive manner on what direct indirect subsidies are. The fact remains fertilizer will still consume the major thing, although they are all connected to each other. I come to you, Mr. Naresh, again, and you heard, you heard, for example, my views and the views in the government that we'll have to regulate how we give fertilizer. You also heard Mr. Patil saying how ineffective he himself in his sugarcane farm is using urea.
Right.
Because he perhaps thinks it is anyway coming free of cost.
Right.
We also spoke about electronic money, electronic vouchers for delivery of services. Now, keeping what we told you, I'm not a part of the government, but till now I was part of the government.
Right.
So if you give me a concession by thinking that I am still part of the government, then the government is now telling you that look, there is a need to regulate and give you subsidy only depending upon the land and the quantity of the land and the type of a crop.
Right.
And that these vouchers will also be used. Tell me how you can fine-tune the fertilizer delivery framework and how it would help both the industry and the farmer, so that you are in a way getting ready for future where we have this framework. What framework? We will not give unlimited fertilizer. We will give depending upon whether you are a farmer, how much crop you have, how much land you have, and we will give you through these. You means the farmers some type of vouchers through which they can encash. We now have 12 minutes and I would request you to talk for about 3 minutes so that
Yeah. Let me try. Few things. I mean, I want to clarify. No nutrition is organic. So anything you put in soil, that has to convert into inorganic form. Number one. Number two, fertilizers are not chemicals. These are plant food, and this is harvested from the nature or mind. Okay. So now taking the point, there are two issues important. One is curtailing the subsidy, and another is efficient management of the subsidy. So curtailing subsidy means, I mean, whether we can do it, then MRP, I mean, farm gate prices has to be increased, and that policy has to address that. Say urea 266 rupees 50 paisa 45 kg, I mean, not even the salts, cheaper than the price of the salt. If that is the price, I mean, policy, then how do you think that the rational use or judicious use would take place? Then again, correcting the point, that we are not the efficient use of the fertilizer in the world. Anywhere where rice is grown, the nutrient use efficiency is the same what India has. So rice is a culprit. Sugar cane is a culprit. Where irrigation water is injudicious, not used, then that is where fertilizer use efficiency is less, and that's how the environmental, I mean, whether groundwater, nitrate or anhydrous, I mean, ammonia or nitrous oxide emissions into the environment. Now curtailing the subsidy through the MRP or policy. Now efficient management of the subsidy or disbursement of the subsidy, whether through e-voucher or for that matter any other digital way to make it, what advantage it can bring in over the existing system, that is to be seen and reviewed. Say if at retail point it is redeemed, then whether it is going in the retailer account or it is going to the company account, then what existing system? Sir, my submission is that the current, as you rightly said, anybody who comes to a retail point, he has right to get the fertilizer. He does the biometric authentication and he can take away the fertilizer, whether he is a farmer or he is not a farmer. So if that, some criteria is built in there, that genuine farmer or small marginal farmer with this land holding, say in the Kisan the Samman Nidhi also there are some criteria. And then to start with, when DBT was implemented and Nandan Saab then he phased manner, he said the subsidy has to go off. Then soil health card and the land record was to be seeded with the Aadhaar. And that is how subsidy, disbursement has to take place. So that is not done. And until unless you define who is your beneficiary and the benefit of the subsidy is whom is really to go, till then this problem will not be sorted out. And then policy, if nowhere in the world urea is sold at 266 rupees 50 paisa 45 kg a bag, a 2000 rupees bag product you sell at a 200 something 60 rupees 300 rupees, then still you want that rational use. I think farmer will find the cheaper material and use it I would say unscientifically, and that problem will face.
So Patil ji, you kindly tell us your closing remarks on at least the minimal we should do is to become Atmanirbhar in fertilizer production, while we will try to reduce our dependence on fertilizer by rationalizing, by controlling. Just to tell Mr. Prasad, Naresh, that under this agri-stack system, you will now see that the farmer registries of are you a farmer, how much land you own, which means seeding land records data with farmer ID, finding out which crop which farmer is doing. Lots of development has taken place. I'll talk about it later because we have to close at 12. But just wanted to tell you that there is substantial progress which has taken place in this regard. So kindly tell us in next 3 minutes, only summary points as to how we can become self-sufficient or Atmanirbhar in new language now on fertilizer.
Thank you. There are two kinds of fertilizers which we needed for the increasing the agriculture productivity. One is a regular chemical fertilizer which has a bill of 2 lakh crore rupees. And second, the approach which has adopted by the Andhra Pradesh government by introducing the natural farming and developing the biofertilizer at the farm gate only. So, in order to save 2 lakh crore rupees, in order to give the maximum benefit to the farmer so that he can get the price fertilizer at the affordable rate, and also we can maintain the balance, whatever the nutrition is required for the particular plant. So we should see the how India can be the Atmanirbhar in the fertilizer sector in next 10 years. So it looks difficult because lot of raw materials we are importing for the rest of the world like phosphorus and potassium. So we have to see how we can curb that one. But ultimately we have to also see which has 1,000 shares of our additions by utilizing our own fertilizer at our own farms, like we are utilizing the manure and everything, because we were doing the natural farming for thousands of years. So if we work on two aspects, I feel that these problems slowly in next 10-25 years we can solve it, so that farmers will get the fertilizer at the affordable rate, as well as we can maintain the environmental balance at the grassroots or ground rate only.
So basically what you are saying is, when you talk about fertilizer in the widest sense, replace the so-called chemical fertilizer, which he says is not chemical, fair enough, by the natural fertilizer which is produced at the farm gate. The final question to you, Mr. Satish, you have worked for a long time in cooperative sector. We all know PACs are doing bad, cooperative banks are doing bad, but I still ask you a very unenviable question. You will have to give positive answers. We are not interested in hearing negative answers. You have to tell us as to what the cooperative banks and cooperative sectors can do to finance agriculture. KCC loan is one of two subsidies. There was lots of subsidies he spoke about. You spoke about non-direct subsidies. So kindly tell us your views, and then of course 2 minutes if there is any question, unlikely, but if there is some question, and then we'll close it.
See, number one, the credit to the agricultural sector from the cooperative sector is today about 15% of the total outstanding credit. In the country we have about 350 district central cooperative banks and 30 state cooperative banks which indirectly support the primary agricultural societies for lending to the farmers. Fortunately, more than 300 banks operating in 500 districts are profitable banks today. So that's not a big issue that they are not doing well. PACs also, about 63,000 PACs in the country of the 93,000 are doing well. They are profitable and they are delivering services. So the sector is vibrant, but many of you must be knowing that Reserve Bank of India's Innovation Hub has created a new product. Any farmer who has a mobile, who has an Aadhaar card and whose land records have been computerized or it is available on accessible, if he feeds the area, the product that he is going to cultivate, his request can be processed in 15 minutes and a loan can be disbursed in the account in a bank of his choice. That's the status of the technology that we have developed. Some 8 or 10 public sector and private sector banks are ready to implement it. Unfortunately, the cooperative banks have to upgrade their technology so that they are also able to access the same product which the Reserve Bank has developed and which will be increasingly used in the next few years. So technological upgradation is the most challenging part in the delivery of services, whether it is loans, whether it is the subsidies for the cooperative sector today. A massive effort is underway to computerize and connect primary agricultural societies to the district central cooperative banks. About some states, particularly Telangana and Uttarakhand, They are far ahead in all these areas. Others would follow. It will take a little few more years for all these banks to upgrade themselves and be a important player in delivery mechanism of credit and subsidies. I see a bright future for the cooperatives with the push that we are getting both from the new Ministry of Cooperation and the technological upgradations being heralded by the Reserve Bank of India.
Thank you. So just before we close, I must tell you that if you have 14.5 or 15 crore farmers, the total number of farmers who are getting Kisan credit card loan, which is a loan at 3.5%, is just 7 crore. So 8 crore farmers, for various reasons, are not getting loan, which means they are going to money lenders, right? And then, because if they go to Kisan credit card, the government does interest subvention. It gives concession on the interest. So imagine, out of 15 crore farmers, 7 crore are getting, and when we go to these farmers, if he says 10 rupees kg palak, we try to argue with him. Yaar 9 rupees de de, 8 rupees de de. But you will not mind going to a movie and paying 1,000 rupees. So I think we also as citizens will have to understand that we have to have empathy in this sector. So before I close, if there are any questions to any of the participants, kindly feel free, and then we close it. Yeah, please. I know this subject is very wide and lots of talks can happen, but it is now 2 minutes past 5:12. 5-6 minutes, because there are 3-4 people. There are so many things you can talk in agriculture. I mean, in the parliament also we keep on talking about it. So.
I have two questions. One is that chemical fertilizer is an aspect where subsidy and all those things goes. But Patil sir said biofertilizer. Same way there are bionutrients also. And I think subsidy not, as per my knowledge, is not available on those bionutrients. Second question is about crop insurance, because agriculture depends a lot on nature and other factors also, which cause the damage, and farmer suffers because once that is lost, it is all the efforts gone down the drain. So I think insurance is available, yes, but it's not very comprehensive, one aspect. Second is, it is a bit costly still. Few years back it was very costly, but still it is costly. And insurance companies does not much encouraging for having a crop insurance. What we can do about it?
So these are two questions. Yeah. Some other questions? Yeah, please. So what I will do, I am writing these questions, and then once for all we can answer them. Yes, please.
My question is, okay, farm subsidy, fertilizer subsidy is one part of protecting or achieving Atmanirbharta in agriculture. What could be the other thing, either Mr. Patil or Mr. Marathe? They can throw light on this, because subsidy is one part of the story. That may not be the only thing. See, ultimately, if you have to be Atmanirbhar in agriculture, there could be some other ways which I would suggest Mr. Patil or Mr. Marathe can talk about.
Okay. Next, please. One more question. That's all. Yeah.
My question is to Satish, sir. With regards to technology, currently we are discussing about running the business and then the productivity and progressive. I'm talking from the strategic perspective about the food security. How far away we are from the technology, something similar to Doomsday Vault, which is in Norway? Are we having the capacity to build and then secure our native crops, and which is water sustainable, drought resistance by nature? So how far away we are from such technologies, sir?
Okay. Last question. Yeah. That's it. Bolo.
Enhance this efficiency and like take India to a place where we are not like, even if we have like so many, like the most farmers in the world, but we are still able to, you know, give them that recognition and give them the success.
Okay, fine. So there are 5 questions. I'll just answer the easiest question. Chairman has the right to answer whatever. On the crop insurance, I think lots of things have changed in the last 10 years. This Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana covers almost each crop except perhaps sugarcane, coffee, couple of crops. And the in case of agriculture crop, the government has subsidized so much. The government pays about 30,000 crore to support crop insurance. 2% of the premium has to be paid by the farmer, and the remaining premium has to be paid by the government in case of agriculture. In case of horticulture crops, 5% maximum farmer has to pay, and others have to pay the remaining, government pays. Now, of course, insurance companies have no role in this. The request for insurance is done in common service centers. Citizens can also do in banks if they are loany farmers. Of course, lots of things have to improve. So on crop insurance, good amount of things are happening. There are some scams also. People always find out some ways to cheat the system, and the government is actually plugging in. I work in the ministry and I have seen that in last 10 years, lots of improvements have happened on crop insurance. We can talk one-to-one if there are some suggestions. Now, I come to the subsidy on organic fertilizer. If you really want to increase subsidy on organic fertilizer, organic farming, as on today, of course, they will have to evolve policy. Andhra was the first person. You are correct that if you really want to encourage it, then you will have to encourage the technology to produce organic fertilizer, all these organic tools, and also to give some fertilizer subsidy in that direction. I think Government of India is talking about it. So there is an internal policy thinking. The 3 other questions I will request everybody to answer now. The first question was that, how can we increase the efficiency in fertilizer?
Yeah.
The gentleman said that you don't keep on saying, no, we are very good compared to others. You need to become more efficient is what he is saying, and what can be done.
There is subsidy on organic fertilizer, and that's Govardhan scheme currently running. 1,500 rupees per ton MDA, market development assistance is there. Just I wanted to supplement. See, efficient use of fertilizer, I mean, country is trying, the best possible way. You have come across now nano fertilizer is being tried where efficiency is more than 70%. So it's not that the industry is bringing out with the new products, whether it is a liquid fertilizer or customized fertilizer or the fortified fertilizer. The whole idea is to supply the nutrient what soil crop needs. But then efficiency of the added nutrients, say in case of nitrogen, if it is 30%, 40%, in case of phosphorus 20%, in case of micronutrient 2 to 5%, in case of potash 50%. So it is there. There is not much scope in the sense that through the chemical fertilizer as such, through the traditional fertilizer you can increase, until unless innovation is there, new products are there, efficient fertilizers are there, and that would come only when there is a policy change, that promotes the use of new products, and then it will be more efficient fertilizer nutrition system. Otherwise the thing will not change.
So and therefore Mr. Prasad says that as an association or farmers, he is absolving himself. He is saying improve the policy, then something will happen. Fair enough, you have a right to say that. Of course you should say that. It's always good to kind of push the responsibility somewhere else. It becomes easy for. Now the final 2 questions are there. One is that you spoke about subsidies, but don't you think that, do you think technology can play some role in saving the native crops, native practices? Can technology help on this? Please.
I have no idea, honestly, for this question.
You have no idea?
I have no idea.
Okay, fine. So the audience was wanting to ask Mr. Satish only, so others have no right to talk. Now the final question is, apart from subsidy, can we become Atmanirbhar in some other manner? Because we are just talking about subsidy, but what else we can do apart from subsidy? Your final say, and then we close it.
Yes. If you want to become an economic power, then India has to become Atmanirbhar agriculture. Now, how will become Atmanirbhar agriculture? By implementing 3 P's. 1, to increase the productivity. If you see the India's productivity of the important commodities, and if you compare this productivity with the rest of the world, India is nowhere. So the increased farmers' income is the one thing you increase the productivity. Second, you promote a private investment, because if you see the investment in the agriculture infrastructure by the private player is a very minimum, because government cannot do everything. If we encourage the private investment, the agriculture infrastructure thing will get improved. And third, the processing. India has the best kind of raw material in terms of agriculture in the world, but we are processing very less. So increase the productivity, increase the private investment, and then the processing. These 3 things will help India to become Atmanirbhar, and that will take care of everything. That will take care of your entire supply chains. That will also cross correct your farm economy, because whenever we say that we wanted to export something, like in case of wheat, in case of onion, we put the export ban. How the farmers income will increase? So that all will taken care by these 3 P's. Definitely India has all the potential to become an economic power in terms of agriculture, but this all has to taken care of, so that it will help for the national security, as well as it will help for the India's whole economy, that we want to become an economic power. So this will help, sir.